Darren McAullay joins me as he always does these days for the best from the West. Hello to you, Darren.
Good morning to you, G. Good morning, everyone.
Beautiful. Our line is a lot better than it was a couple of weeks ago, which makes me a lot happier, to tell you the truth. And you're looking beautiful as always, Mr. McAullay.
You're very, very kind, Gareth. And
yes.
Isn't technology a wonderful thing when it actually works? So
it does, yes.
We're here in the studios at Optus, and it's fantastic, and we've got some exciting announcements coming up too with our coverage of racing, so we're really looking forward to that as well. And thankfully the conditions have cooled off a little bit after Monday's heat wave. It got to 39 degrees, but it's been very pleasant so far through the week, and we're looking forward to an absolute peach of a day for the Northerly coming up on Saturday.
It was interesting. We just had Tom Moxon on the show, the chairman of Stewards of Racing New South Wales, and they've made a decision on a Wednesday to postpone their Saturday meeting to a Sunday, which I haven't really seen before, this far out anyway. And you get a lot of hot days in WA. So it's a tough juggling act, I reckon, for racing administrators to make sure they get this right in a way, because obviously a lot can happen within 2 days and the weather can change. And let's be honest, the Weather Bureau doesn't get it right on too many occasions. So, no, it's an interesting situation that we find ourselves in these days, especially in Western Australia, where I reckon there last season you lost a lot of race meetings or had to postpone a lot of race meetings because of the heat, Darren.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Gareth. We do run a lot of twilight meetings these days too, and they do look ahead. They've got the Bureau of Meteorology, where they look at all different aspects of heat and humidity, and there is a sense of contradiction. You could have a 35, 36 degree day, which is where you can run, but you could have humidity that's excessively high and far more energy sapping than any heat would be, and yet they will allow you to run. And yet it could be 37.5 or whatever it might be. I'm not quite even sure what the ruling is these days, the heat policy they have. But you can be half a degree over and you can't run a meeting until it ticks down to that, benchmark number. Yeah. So there is a sense of contradiction, and I always used to think, and I went to Perth Cups way back in the day, when, it was 44 degrees one day. Time Frame won the Cup back in the 90s anyway. It led all the way, and it was a 2 mile Perth Cup back then. And I remember the thermostat reading in the old shed where the jockeys were down in the mounting yard. Yeah. It was 49. Yeah. I remember the great Bobby Champion was there, and he nearly passed out. But things have changed. Welfare is paramount these days, although, others would argue that the thoroughbred was born from the deserts of Arabia, the Dali, the Barb, the Godolphin. They're a herd animal. And I was only talking to another trainer about this last night, with horses. You can put up lean-to sheds and you can provide shade and all the rest of it in these paddocks. He said, no, look out there in bewilderment sometimes, because the horses are lying in the hottest part of the paddock, just on the ground, and that's what they do. So there's a sense of contradiction about it, but I understand the significance of looking after the welfare of horses and humans at the same time. Yeah, I think it's a big responsibility. You
make that point. It's not just the thoroughbred that they're looking after with the heat policy. It's the human factor as well, with the jockeys and especially the participants that have to be in that heat. And I reckon if it was 49 degrees these days in a Perth Cup, they definitely won't be running. So we've got the Best from the West means test here, which we're going to be doing every Wednesday. Of course, we do a Monday means test with Wayne Hawkes and Johnny O'Neill. So we'll talk about a few of the issues, and we'll have a few different categories on a Wednesday morning when you join me, Macca. And the first one, of course, we'll start with the King's Gambit. And it is, have we got it wrong about Joker's Grin? Obviously, he was the second favourite, and he was well supported as well throughout the week with Bet365 before a winner bottom. He missed the kick. It didn't go his way, and he failed to finish in the top 4 there on Saturday. Now, Bernie Miller has told us that everything is okay. He had the vets go out during the week, and he will push on towards a gold rush. And he's got a new jockey now with Sean O'Donnell, who rode him there 2 starts back when Patrick Carberry had concussion. So he is riding this horse in a gold rush, with Patrick unfortunately being suspended there in the winner bottom last Saturday, Macca. Your thoughts on all of this with Joker's Grin? How good is he?
Well, on his day, at his best, he is incredibly good, as we've seen. From time to time, and this sounds bizarre when I say this, I haven't been able to catch him. And yet he's won 9 out of 13.
Yeah.
And his record speaks for itself. We know the best version of this horse is electrifying, as we saw in the Quokka, where he just rounded them up and he charged home. Now, whether or not he didn't like racing, maybe inside of horses there on Saturday in the Winterbottom, that could be argued, but I could see that Pat was fully testing the horse, as there were others that were starting to feel the pinch, and they just couldn't get going. I'm not quite sure whether it was just one of those off days. He didn't have an impact like he is certainly become very well known for, and he didn't deliver to expectations. So is the jury out? I guess there are questions to be asked. Is he a 1,000-metre horse, effectively?
Okay.
He's had 13 runs, 9 wins, 7 over 1,000 metres, 1 at 11 and 1 at 1,200. That, of course, was the Quokka. So there had been that argument raised before, about whether or not he was just one of those on the day, turn up, electrifying 1,000-metre horses. So that could be something that they'll have a look at.
So I reckon you give him another chance. I would have faith in Joker's Grin, because when you talk to people who, like a Peter Anthonys that analyses the data, that he produces times like only of a proper Group 1 horse. I reckon he's a horse, however, that he's a little bit one-dimensional, where he needs to cut up into the race, he needs a fast tempo, and he needs just to have that last crack at them like he did in the Quokka. So he needs the race to pan out in his favour, and if he doesn't get that, then he can't overcome those obstacles like what happened there on Saturday when he missed the kick. 1,400 metres is a big question mark for mine. I agree with you, whether he'll get a strong 1,400 metres. I think when you ask the connections, they believe he will, but it will be a test for him come Saturday. And that now comes to our next category, the big race integrity, as we look back there at the Winterbottom. And Overpass was the beaten favourite there, Darren, on Saturday. I think he was a little bit disappointing. I thought that the run that he had every opportunity to make it 3 on the trot there on Saturday. And I reckon if we saw the real Overpass, he would have won there on Saturday.
Well, he's now been here for 2 visits.
Yeah.
Last 2 when he was seemingly unbeatable leading up to it. He was beaten out of the placings in the Quokka in the autumn, and he's come back and he had got beaten, I think, on his merits on Saturday. I think you're right in your assessment of how the race was run. It was run tactically to suit. He again wobbled off on the corner, as he does tend to do at Ascot, and what he did do was allow the horse following him there that dream drift through on his inside to pick him up late, Libertad. And one wonders if, whilst he went down fighting, he didn't coil up, he didn't get steamrolled or anything like that. He got beaten by a bob of the heads. That's all it was. And maybe the older Overpass would have accelerated away, put a gap on them, and then put the race to bed. So they can't stay great forever, can they? And he's done an incredible job to win just under $13 million in prize money. Yep. You'd like to have a few of those in the backyard. So you have a look at the Gold Rush market now with Bet365 and these horses coming out of the Winterbottom Stakes. So Joker's Grin, it surprises me that he's favourite with Bet365. He's at $4. Roped them in at $5. Now, he was a big run, I reckon, in a Winterbottom Stakes, and he's the only real horse, I reckon, Darren, going into a Gold Rush that he has actually been set for this race. Like the others have had grand finals where they thought that like it was a Railway or a Northerly or a Winterbottom Stakes where they think that's their best chance of winning during the Pinnacles. We roped them in. I reckon they identified that he's a 1,400 metre horse and this is his big grand final, and he's at $5 over past $5.50. And Ray Bignero, they're going to have a crack there at $6. Yet a horse like Oscar's Fortune, I reckon, goes there still. He's at $21 after finishing not far off them. So out of those Winterbottom horses, who do you think the best chance is of taking out the Gold Rush? Well, I think the horse that you identified there, roped them in, has got a second to none chance. I thought his run was, of the local horses, the best of them on Saturday. His run previous to that, with 61.5 kilos, was outstanding. It provided Steve Wolf with the dilemma. Yeah. Do you go to the Railway or do you come back for a Winterbottom knowing that you can step up to 1400? And I think 1400 is his wheelhouse. So I would think that if he comes up with a reasonable enough draw in the Gold Rush, rope them in, I really think has got as good a chance as any, and certainly maybe emerging as the best of the West Aussie horses in that particular race. I think what you've said there is absolutely spot on. Steve Wolf has had that race eyed off for some time. I'm so glad that he bypassed the railway, went back to the Winterbottom as the building run, the platform step to get to 1400 metres, and maybe that judgment is going to be rewarded when we see them step out in the Gold Rush.
So he's the third or second favourite, as I said, rope them in. I reckon he's definitely the horse to beat.
Yeah. And by the way, Oscar's Fortune's definitely going there. I spoke with Dion last night.
Oh, is he? Yes.
And he's definitely happy with the way that he's pulled up. Everything was good with Oscar's. Probably blew up a little bit, but he said he'll be more than happy to get him to 1400. And I'm really glad that Robbie Griffiths is going to stay on as well with Ray Magnerio.
Yeah.
I loved his run there. He was just tonking through on the inside. It is uncharted territory for Ray Magnerio, but I'm really pleased that Rob's elected to stay here and just throw him into the deep end and just see what is possible if things happen to sort of fall his way. You get an even break in these good races, you never know your luck.
I don't know if he gets 1400 metres, Ray. We'll find out anyway.
Well, that's the thing. We can all have a subjective opinion on whether horses can or can't, but until they go and do that, and we'll get to King of Light in a minute. They say, could he be the best? Could he be that? Well, could he be the next Scenic Blast, Scenic Shot? We've discussed this previously from Danny Morton's stable. Well, you don't know until they go and do it. You don't know until they put the runs on the board. We can all have a subjective view, but it might amount to absolutely nothing at the end of the day. Yep. But you've got to go there and give them the opportunity to do it.
Now, I want to have a chat about the Archibalds, all right, because I was talking to a friend about this yesterday. Can you believe Zaki got beaten in Northerly when Annabelle Neesham took Zaki here? Got beat by Dom to Shoot for Daradnowski. So Zaki was beaten as a short price favourite, and he was probably coming towards the back end of his career, but he was a genuine weight for age superstar. He was a $2 favourite for a WS Cox plate before he was scratched sensationally on race day morning.
Had and James on him that day as well.
Yeah, so James McDonald actually flew from Hong Kong on the eve of the international meeting to ride Zaki, and you couldn't put enough on him as they swung for home, and he gets beat. And then the next week they turn up with Port Lockroy, who hasn't won another race to win a railway, and then Libertad defeats Overpass to win a Winterbottom Stakes. It's a cruel game for us punters from time to time, Darren.
Yes, it looks the obvious when you get horses like Azaki come here and just go and pick off a little bit of low-hanging fruit, and then all of a sudden they get rolled by a local. You're right about Port Lockroy. I think we mentioned here on your program that the last three railway winners have not won a race subsequently since. One of them had been placed. And so Annabelle, and I had the pleasure of dining out with her and some of the Libertad part owners on Saturday night with Walshy, and we had a good fun night there, and we talked about that. She sees the humour, the mirth in all of this that goes on, but she loves coming across here, and win, lose or draw, she goes home with some pretty good memories of Perth. I'm sure that they're going to be very, very regular with their horses coming across here to our carnivals.
What do you mean the humour? What kind of humour does she see, Darren?
Well, she gets it. She gets my stuff-ups for a start, which is very important too. She's very forgiving.
What does she say to you?
I found out.
What does she say to you?
She said to me, I walked into the restaurant. Can I give it a plug?
Yes, you can.
Miss Chow's.
Yeah,
it's a good spot.
Yeah.
And I walked in. I was later than everyone else, and Peter Walsh was holding court at the head of the table. And I looked at Annabelle as I walked in. She looked back at me, and we just sort of had a bit of a stare off for a few moments, and then she just winked at me and she said, "At least you got my horse's name right this time."
And it was a great call too, and you got the photo finish right too, Cobb.
Yeah, well, if you have enough throw at the stumps, you've got to get it right occasionally, surely. But she's good. She's really good value, Annabelle, and she brings a lot of excitement, joy over here. And Rob's fantastic as well, and they're developing some really good relationships with the people here in WA.
No, that is sensational. As we continue on the different categories now, the 3-year-old factor in the Northerly, we've got King of Light, who dominates the market. He's a clear favourite with Bet365 around $2.60. The next best in the market is Vivier and Western Empire at $8. Like, the 3-year-old factor has been a winning factor in recent times when it comes to the Northerly. But should he be that much of a dominant favourite this year, the Guineas winner?
Well, he is very short. When I was going through that market earlier this morning, they got the right draw, by the way. I think that 8 was perfect, where Willie can just take hold, ease back, and then look for a trail into the race there and let him build. We know how exciting he is, but he has to go to a Group 1 race, and this is going to be a litmus test for him. If you go back over recent years, the fillies have been okay. Old Comrade won this race as a 3-year-old. It's a Him won it as a 3-year-old. Now, that was back in 2013. There hasn't been a 3-year-old Colt gelding win the race subsequently since then, I don't think. So it's the fillies that have been okay, but the Colts and geldings, we haven't seen that many of them win, although, when the race was in another incarnation, there were a lot of 3-year-olds that won the race because they had that big weight advantage. But look, you know what? He is a very, very talented horse. He's got 5 on the board. He gets to 52 kilos in this race on Saturday. He gets the right draw. He's got the best in the West in the saddle. And if he runs to the expectation and the ability that he has shown so far, then King of Light could stamp himself as being the next star of WA. But time will tell, because he's up against some formidable warriors that have been around. Western Empire's one of those. I think he gets into the race really well on the weekend also. Meets most of these on better weight terms, of course, than he did in the handicap, and did run second in this race. But it was 4 years ago. Talk about testimony to the horse's durability, to think that it was in 2021 that he ran second to Regal Power, and here he is going around again for another crack at it.
Yeah, unbelievable, really. And then we've got the dynasty of the Lindsay Park and the Hayes family. If a Pulley can, he's been an amazing horse, a Pulley, to do what he's been able to do this preparation. But it would be some story if Ben, JD and Will Hayes could join their father and grandfather and be Northerly champions. If a Pulley could win the Group 1 Northerly Stakes. Yeah,
their granddad, Pop, whatever they call the late CS, he was a regular over here through the 1970s, in that period they used to call the golden era. And didn't he bring some superstars across here? The likes of Better Loosen Up. He won this race. A credit account for the late Billy Galbraith, who you may well remember, used to own that horse. Very good horse, station hand. And then, of course, David also had a fair bit of success with Nicanero as well. He's won 3, I think, of these races. So the family have got a heritage in the event, no matter what the race has been called over the years, and it's had a few derivations. But I think the Hayes boys here would love to add their name to the list of family members that have won the race. And I think the job that they've done with Apulia has been absolutely nothing short of remarkable to get this horse back in the way that he's going with those 2 wins in Melbourne coming across here. His pattern looks as though it'll be, not much of a disadvantage where he's drawn. He'll go back 1,800 metres and do what he's been doing in Melbourne, rounding them up and grinding out his races. And hope he runs a real ripper of a race on the weekend, because it'll give them enormous satisfaction if he can win it.
Who do you think wins the Northerly? What are your numbers?
Haven't really locked them down just yet.
Yes.
I've got a little bit of work to do at the moment. My gut feeling is that the 3-year-old is up to this. I've just taken a real liking to King of Light, what he does, no frills. He's a bit of an old soul in a young horse's body, but what he delivers and the ability to quicken, and I think if Pike can find the right back to get him there and that he builds with the 52, his rivals are going to know that this new kid on the block is certainly going to have a very big impact. So I'd be leaning towards him initially. I think under the weights and measures, you know what you're going to get with Western Empire. Billy Egan, again, in the saddle. He knows the horse. So I think that, you know, those two are going to play a very big part in the race. And I'm also thinking that Apulia, the way that the Hayes boys have got it going at the moment, it has to be considered. So haven't really nailed them down specifically at the moment, G, but that's my initial thinking.
You got, talking about Genesis, you got the Williams team, if they can win a Northerly, Bob and Sandra Peters with Cosmic Crusader. Fred Kersley, if he wins his first Group 1 in a Northerly, wouldn't that be fitting?
That'd
with Ozapinko at $26. And, geez, I'm warming to Depth of Character at $19 because he gets a gate and he gets Chris Parnham aboard. I think that's a massive plus as well from gate 2. He's at $19. He's a big price, I reckon.
Yeah. And look, you know, you couldn't dismiss him on the run either.
No.
In the railway. He was off the course all the way. I don't think he was any better than 4 deep. No cover, the poor bugger. He saw more of the outside rail than the in. And I thought he was good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think from what he'd drawn in barrier 2, he's going to get a far more economical run on this occasion there. And, you know, you'd love to see him run a terrific race there, you know, for Annabelle and Rob. Depth of Character. Yeah.
What about something for the battlers today at Belmont? 7 races, Darren. What about your best bets and a quaddie there?
Thinking the third, Trevor Andrews' 3-year-old, Sound of Speed, second up, won this trip second up last campaign. Thought the return to Anaballistic. Now, Simon Miller, earlier this morning, talking with the Breakfast Boys, was really keen about Anaballistic today. So if that's the reference, then I think that Sound of Speed, beautifully drawn, barrier 5, it'll be awfully hard to beat. That win down there in Bunbury, it gave them an absolute shellacking that day. So I'm keen. It was 265 overnight there in the market, G. So we're happy to go with Sound of Speed. And I thought that in the race that preceded the third, that we could have something on 13 in Malolo from the Dan and Ben Pearce stable. Drawn to advantage there. I thought it trialled pretty well. It and Ballora Star Clash, they come out of the very same barrier trial. I'm forgiving of its only appearance, went straight to the paddock after getting beaten, but it had trialled really well going to it. So I'm suggesting here that maybe there was a setback. It might have had shin soreness, but they put it straight away. So back today, Malolo the filly, and I'm going to tip her around $7 as our little each-way play for the battlers.
Beautiful, mate. And was Simon tipping Anaballistic today?
Well, he's like IGA. He's got specials every day.
Yes.
And Anaballistic, he was crowing this morning. Everything's spot on, he said.
Beautiful.
So, I take it as though he's keen.
All right, I've got one for you today. Impressive Jewel in the last.
For the Maley stable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Race 7, number 8.
Have I tipped it? I've got it down there in my top 3.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's $5.50. It's not excessive overs, but I like the win. Didn't trial before the first up victory there, so impressive duel with the bloke who can bend a fair elbow. I think that it'll be right there in the mix. It's one of the numerous chances in the last event.
Well, you go and get him today, Macca. Good calling, and bring on, of course, the Northerly Stakes, and we'll continue the build up there on Saturday morning when you join me for our preview from 7 o'clock Western time, of course 10 o'clock in the East, and it's going to be a fascinating race.
It certainly will be. The last of the Group 1s, G, for the Pinnacles, but I just wonder if the Gold Rush might get a bit of a lift in status in the ensuing years.
Yeah. We'll talk about that next week. We had David Hunter on Friday, and he mentioned that they've got to look at the Railway Stakes. They've got to do something about it, and he just doesn't know what they're going to do yet. But maybe we can put our thinking caps on and maybe have a few ideas regarding what they do with the carnival. But I reckon the Gold Rush is becoming one of the most intriguing races now of the Pinnacles, and it's the Group 3, and it's probably going to have the best fielding, I reckon, and it's the Group 3 out of the Group 1. So we'll discuss that next week, Cobb.
Okay, well, I've got my thinking cap on already, G, so I'm ready and
beautiful.
I'll no doubt be having a good think about this.
Enjoy your day today. Thanks for that.
You too, brother.
There's Darren McAullay, the superstar race caller, and of course, he joins me each and every Wednesday for the best from the west. Let's catch up now with Deni Roberts, the superstar harness racing driver, who, what a performance there by Minstrel to take out the $100,000 Group 2 JP Stratton Cup there at Gloucester Park Friday night. Deni, congratulations. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hey, Gareth, how are you this morning?
Good, thank you. Is that the biggest he's ever gone?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to take away what he did in the Inters, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's probably second to that.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing there what he did. He come off the fence after being crossed, but he seems just to be getting better, Deni.
Yeah, he is. He took a bit to get going early on, and credit to Greg and Sky, just let him mature and lightly raced him. And I think they're taking the benefits for it now.
You must be looking forward to the WA Pacing Cup next week. He's the firm favourite there with Bet365. So how's he trained on?
Yeah, no, perfect. It was probably a great run for him to have a fortnight out. Just probably maintain him up until then. I've just arrived at the beach now and go and do some beach work. He loves that. It's really good for his legs, and older horses, good for their joints. So he always usually thrives this time of year, being able to do that with him.
I guess he just needs a gate now. I think it's a 2-horse race. Mr. Smarty and Minstrel. I reckon I can't see any other horse beating you two guys on Friday week. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or you think there's a few others there that could be dangerous come Friday night there for Pacing Cup night there?
I don't think you can leave Storm out.
Yeah.
He's, just too talented, and he's probably got a better turn of foot than both of us.
Yeah.
We're probably stronger. Just probably different horses in that sense. But, yeah, barrier draw is going to play a big part. But, yeah, I'd say Smarty, if he drew to lead, he'd definitely be my biggest danger.
And what about, you've got Just Call Me Mickey in the final lead-up race towards the Pacing Cup and the Navy Cup there on Friday night. He's got plenty of ability on his night. How's he been going?
Yeah, he's been going really well, just hasn't had draws to suit his racing pattern. He's a big horse that likes to be up on speed. He's got a front row draw this week, which is good, but he looks like he's going to have to do the work outside of Storm. So, yeah, he's going to have to bring his absolute best to beat him. But, look, if he does, then he definitely deserves a spot in the Cup.
Yeah, how many will Team Bond hopefully have in the Cup?
I'd say we definitely have, obviously, Minstrel and He's a Sport.
Yeah.
Just Call Me Mickey is in the field as the rankings lie at the moment.
Yeah.
And Golden Load was the other one that we were trying to push to get in.
So, He's a Sport. Were you happy with his effort there last Friday night? He had the perfect run on the back of Minstrel. We might have just missed you.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you there?
Yeah, Deni, we're right now.
Sorry, I just got a phone call.
That's all right.
He's definitely that free-for-all class, but he's probably known more as a sit-kick horse. So I think he lived up to sort of what he can do. He was probably a little bit too much on the speed and following that really strong tempo. So I was pretty happy with his efforts as well.
Last one before we let you go, before someone else rings you again. We've got about a minute here. Will we see Minstrel in the East for a 100 Cup Miracle Mile, maybe the Inter-Dominion?
I think so. I think Sky said today's the biggest regret not taking him to the New Zealand Cup.
Yeah.
I think we got such a big kick out of travelling with him.
Yeah.
Really enjoy the experience. So I definitely think it'll be on the cards as long as he's sound and going well, which can't see why he won't be. I think we'll definitely go for another trip.
That is exciting. Deni, thanks for joining us. You're flying at the moment. Keep on dominating, and we'll talk to you down the track. Good luck this Friday and, of course, heading towards that Pacing Cup.
Thanks, Gareth.
There's Deni Roberts. Timmy Gossage and Scotty Cummings will have the barrier draw live on their show after 8 o'clock next Tuesday morning. So that's exciting. We might even take that barrier draw here on Giddy Up. That's 8 o'clock next Tuesday. Let's take the news.